Setting up a brand new underwater camera rig is something quite exciting, I find. And I just got a new system that I'm about to set up for the very first time. Care to join me? Stick around. Hey there, you underwater image makers, and welcome to today's very special video, at least to me. I recently upgraded my existing Red Komodo setup to the Red Komodo-X. It is, so to say, a pimped version of the OG Red Komodo with higher frame rates of up to 80 frames per second in 6K R3D RAW and better low-light performance. Both features that will come in very handy underwater, I'm sure. It was quite a bit of a process to get everything sorted out for this camera upgrade, which at first seemed to be pretty straightforward. My favorite housing manufacturer, Gates, supplies an upgrade kit to make the old Deep Komodo housing compatible with the new Red Komodo-X camera at a cost of only $3,200. What a bargain, considering that a new housing would have cost me $10K plus. The Komodo-X is actually not immensely different compared to the original Komodo in terms of size and form, but enough to not fit the existing housing. But buying the new camera and upgrading the housing weren't the only things that had to be done in this upgrading process. The power supply is different on the Komodo-X as it natively runs with mini V-mount batteries, which I didn't own before. Also, the media storage has changed. Instead of the CFast cards that the original Komodo uses, the Komodo-X goes with CF Express Type B cards. So, in the end, instead of the $3,200 for the housing upgrade, I ended up spending something closer to $7K on the housing upgrade, including the work needed to get done, new V-mount batteries and new media for recording. And that doesn't even include the new Komodo-X camera itself, which has been reduced but still cuts a deep hole in my pocket at around $7K by itself. This exciting upgrade suddenly turned out to be much more expensive than what I initially thought it would be. But well, you gotta spend your money somehow, right? And given that about $1,500 out of this went towards getting a complete service done of my old housing after it got upgraded to fit my new Komodo-X, it makes the upgrading cost a little more bearable. So enough talking, let's assemble this bad boy step by step. As I'm doing this, I will be changing to a different camera angle and will talk you through the whole process. Let's go. So you can see all the components laid out in front of me, everything that we need to get the camera set up and the housing set up. So the first thing I want to do is open up the back part here where the monitor will be fitted later. So we can open that up and put it out of the way. Then what we need to do is open that front part, the protection lid, and put that to the side. And then we can basically open the three latches here, which will give us access to open the entire housing and start putting the camera inside of it. So by doing this and then just making sure that we don't, that none of the hoses get caught or of the cables get caught as we pull this out, we now have the two different parts, two different components of the camera housing here. I don't really need that first part at the moment, because what I need is to get the tray out here on which the camera will be fitted. So once I've done this, I've loosened that up, I will grab the new Red Komodo-X, which is slightly bigger than the original Komodo, and I will mount that on the camera tray. Once this is mounted, I have a couple of cables I need to be attaching here. Now we've got a power cable, which will initially, or eventually I better say, power the camera. All these cables are nicely protected with like a little cover, so we need to get those off first. And once we've got those off, we can then attach, for one, the power cable and also the control cable that lets us control the camera through Gates GCC, the control command system, which is basically all the buttons laid out here on the side, which works really, really well and is a great way of being able to use all the different functions of the camera once it is inside the housing. So that's your control cable there, and then we have the battery cable that gets plugged in there too, making sure they sit nicely. All right, so this is attached. Now we need to attach our V-mount battery. Now I have gotten the small rig something pro. It's the 99 watt-hour battery. Important for me, it needs to be flight safe, so it needs to be compliant with safe flying regulations, and this one is below 100 watt-hours, which is kind of the cutoff for most airlines. So I got two of these, and they work great. We weren't sure at the beginning if these ones would fit actually into the housing, because Gates didn't have any information as to whether or not these will fit into the housing, but they actually do, which is great. They're nice and compact, they're affordable, they're easily available, and they work great with the system. They give you probably about a 2-hour runtime on this system. So once we've attached all that, we now need to place the camera back onto its sled here. It's easiest done if you put that on the table and then just slide it in there and tighten that up, and that fits nicely in there. So next, what we want to do is attach monitor cables, SDI cables, so that we can get the monitor and everything set up here. The first thing I would do is attach the power cable to the monitor. In the old system, it was a power cable that was connected to the back of the monitor, because I've got the Small HD 503 Ultra Bright, and it's got a power connection at the back here, but it also has a power connection on the side. And in the old Komodo, we used the power connection at the back there. This is different now. Now we'll be using the one on the side. So we'll be attaching the power cable first here to the command unit, tightening that, making sure it stays where it's supposed to be. All right, that's fine. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is also a other attachment here. This is where the control cable that goes to the housing, the second shell, part of the shell of the housing, to the actual control command section here. That's where it gets connected to the whole camera, so that the commands actually get put through to the camera. So then what we can do next is feed that through the second part of the shell, and then basically just very carefully, so we're not damaging any of the cables inside here, bring the whole thing and slide it into the compartment. Just be careful as you do so, so you're not damaging anything that's in here. It usually works quite nicely. It just slides in there. There we go. And once you've got it in there, you should obviously first have checked your O-rings, or the main O-ring, making sure that that's all okay. But I'm assuming that you know that. Then you close those ledges, the one on the top, and then we've got that seal done here. And then we basically just have a whole lot of cables coming out at the back here, and we're we're good to start attaching the monitor to the power, the SDI cable, all that sort of stuff. So you see we've got that cable that I was talking about before, which is your control cable that gets attached here. I'll just turn it around so I can see it better for myself while attaching it. And what you'll also find is that the little Wi-Fi antenna that is attached, standard attached to your Komodo-X, that needs to come off, otherwise it will get in the way of attaching the GCC cable, the command control cable, and we don't really want that. So this cable sits there. Now, important when we are attaching the monitor, I'll turn it around again so you can see it a little better. When we attach the monitor, it's important that we do attach the power cable first. So we've got a 12G SDI connection on the Red Komodo-X, same as on the Red Komodo, and we want to make sure that we don't fry that, and there's a special protocol for that, so we always need to have power on the accessories first before attaching an SDI from the camera to the accessory. Now you'll see that I've got an extra SDI cable here. That is the bulkhead SDI, which I got installed as I got the upgrade done. I've installed this so that I can use a underwater SDI cable to be attached to the camera in case I need it at any time in the future. Don't need it now, so this cable, I'll need to find a way how to attach it a little more, or how to get it out of the way a little more, sort of a little cleaner, but for now it's gonna go there. And before we do this, I should have probably done this before, attached the SDI. I need to turn this around so I can actually see what I'm doing. Attach the SDI to that cable, to the camera, before attaching it then to the accessory. All right, sometimes it can be a little, just a little challenging getting all these cables properly set up. It takes a little time. It's definitely not your point and shoot camera, also not in the way of setting it up, but well, you know, the quality is just also different than what you get from a GoPro. So you work with that sort of, you take that sacrifice when you work with such a camera. So now that we've got that attached, we can attach the SDI cable to the monitor. And once we've attached that to the monitor, we can find a good way of doing the cable management and place the monitor where it belongs, like this. And then what we would do is attach the outer shell here on the back side. I'm not going to be tightening this yet. I'm just going to placing it there and tightening it up this way, because later we will be doing a quick check before we seal everything up. But for now, we can turn it around like this, and we'll be starting to work on the front end of the housing and the camera. Now what we need to do is attach a lens. I'm using my beloved Canon 15-35 lens, which I really love, which is a great little, it's not little, but it's a great lens. And we also, as you can see, I have attached the lens gear already to it, and now we just need to attach the gear controls. We need to attach these to the appropriate places on the housing. Now, there's different tools for that. Let me just see if we can get that done and how. So which one is gonna be fitting there? It's probably gonna be the small one, and then this one, the focus is gonna be about the same. It's gonna be one of these probably. or even that one. All right, so let's try. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't used it in a while, so we'll find out in a minute. I'll attach these lens gears on the housing. Same goes with the one down here. Attach it there. Once we've done that, we can loosen the second screw. That was the wrong one. We'll need to loosen that one here to get them out of the way so we can attach the lens. Just do this. All right. So, and now we can attach the lens. I need to do that like this. Slip down. And as we have it here, now the Komodo-X actually has like a lens. You can tighten the lens. That is a bit challenging with everything that is happening inside here. So you really need small fingers to be able to tighten that a little bit. And then you can bring those back down, the lens gears, and tighten those again. It helps if you take the right tools to do so, otherwise it won't work, of course. Alright, and now that we've done that, we can now see that we have a working focus there. So we can work the focus ring as we like, and we also have a zoom ring that is properly working all the way from 15 to 35. Right, now the next thing that we need to figure out is how many of these stackable rings we need to attach to the housing so that it gives us a good image. We don't want to have too much glass or too much of these rings in front of it, just enough. So we'll take the lens cap obviously off. I like to zoom out so that we're on 15 millimeters, and then I'll start with the thickest ring, which is like a 200 millimeter, and we'll attach that one to the system. We'll see how that. These rings are actually very easy, they just slide in like that. And then let's see if we need one more like that. It's probably not bad. So we can probably use our 150 on top of that. Using that. Sometimes these rings don't cause problems, but you need to set them up the right way so that they click and are actually locked in so they can't get loose by accident, which is not really going to happen, but you just want to make sure. And then with this lens, you obviously want to use a wide angle dome port. So I've got this is the smaller one. This is the smaller dome port that Gates makes, but it's a high quality glass port which I really like, so we'll be attaching it here. And that's pretty much it. That's our Red Komodo set up. Now what we can do is turn it on by pressing the main button, the main power button back here, which will power on the camera and the monitor, and then we can go through all the settings that we need and want, and we can obviously also create an airtight seal so that the camera is that we know that the seal is properly done on the camera. What we would do for this, actually before we do this, we'll open that again because I forgot something that is rather important, and that's this little thing here, a little battery, and that battery gets placed here in the back. It is the leak alarm battery. When you hear that, you know that the leak alarm is activated, the battery is working, and then you can just reinsert the monitor in there. And once you've done that, close that again. And once you've got that closed, use the tools to properly close it this time. You don't have to over tight it, but just properly close it. And then you have this little device which is basically telling you how much pressure is inside the housing. And we've got this little tube which gets attached to the housing, and the little hand pump here. And what you'll do first, before we check, we'll have to extract some air out of the housing, so to make it, give it a vacuum. So we'll do this on the Komodo, the original one. I think it was like 30 pumps would give a good sort of level. I'll probably just do the same here. So I did 35 pumps. Let's see, the aim is to get to about 100 on the reading here. Let's see what we get here. It's a little less than 100, but that's okay for now. For the testing, it's 90, 91, as you can see here. So we'll leave it. And you can either just leave it sitting like this for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, and see if this number just stays the same. But what you can also do, you can disconnect it and turn that off to save some battery, and just go and do something else for a couple of minutes, and then come back and recheck it again in a couple of minutes, and that's what we're going to be doing. So about 5 minutes have passed, and we can recheck again now to see what our pressure is doing. We'll just reconnect the measuring tool, and we have now even a little higher reading. That is quite can be quite normal when it's the camera is in a hot environment. It can actually, from the heat inside, the reading can come up a little bit. What you don't want is a reading that drops, because if it drops, it means that it loses pressure somehow. If it increases, that's probably the air inside just heating up and expanding a little bit, so that increases the pressure a little bit, but you don't want it to drop. A dropping pressure means that you've got a leak somewhere in your system. So this looks good to me. We can disconnect this again. And don't forget to attach this little safety pin back here, so you don't run the risk of flooding your camera while you jump in the water. And there you have it. This is how you set up your Komodo Komodo-X with the Gates Deep Komodo housing for the use underwater. I am pretty excited about this new camera rig and very happy everything arrived just in time for my upcoming trip to the Maldives for this year's underwater video workshop. I'll be flying to the Maldives this Thursday, which kind of reminds me I should probably disassemble this rig again and start packing, shouldn't I? Well, I hope you found this video interesting and I can't wait to report back to you about the Komodo-X after having used it in the Maldives. Should you have any questions about the rig, let me know in the comment section below. Most likely there won't be any videos for the next 2 weeks while I'm in the Maldives, but I can hopefully show you some epic Red Komodo-X footage after my return. Until then, have a great time, and if you want to know why I decided to buy a red camera in the first place, check out this video over here next. And now, go out there and capture your awesome underwater adventures, and I will see you very soon.